New York City, New York, this Tuesday night, October 1st, we're going to be at the Gramercy Theater for a little AYG and Friends, and we're bringing out a star-studded lineup, ain't we?
We got Dan Soder, we got Giannis Papas, shout out Wawa Twins, plus we got Crazy Cousin Ian Fidance, Gramercy Theater, all tickets available at arugarbage.com. We'll see you there.
She's there. Hold on there, gang. Before we get the show started, let's talk about that Mint Mobile, baby. Gang, do you like saving money? Don't be dumping all your cash to these big box stores, all right? Paying $130, $140 for your cell phone bill when you get it $15 a month with Mint Mobile.
Yeah, $15 a month out the door. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/garbage. That's mintmobile.com/garbage. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month, mintmobile.com/garbage. A $45 upfront payment required, which is the equivalent of $15 a month. New customers on their first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Do it.
Yeah, now to the show.
Welcome to another exciting edition of Are You Garbage? The show where you find out if your favorite comedians are classy individuals or absolute trash. Now, here are your hosts, Kevin Ryan and H. Foley.
Hey, everybody out there, and welcome back to everybody's favorite podcast. This is Are You Garbage?
Oh, yeah.
It's that little show we sit down with your favorite comedians, and we find it out they're good to be classy, but they're just a big old piece of trash.
Trash.
I'm your host, H. Foley, coming at you on a beautiful day. We're out back here at Tootie's in a new edition. She's off to her dart league.
Okay.
She left a note, supper is in the oven, and not to wait up for her.
Okay.
Supper's only cereal. I don't know why it's in the oven.
All right.
Okay, swing and a miss this week. My co-host is coming at you from right next to me. He is the CEO of Are You Garbage? He is an international businessman and my best pal in the whole wide world. Give it up for KJ, Kevin James Ryan, everybody.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. As always, please make sure you rate, review, subscribe on iTunes. Full video available on YouTube. Then obviously the greatest website of all time, www.patreon.com/areyouGarbage. You go over there, you get all your bonus content needs, gang.
And gang, we couldn't be more excited to have our incredibly, and I mean incredibly special guest here with us today for the first time. He is a very funny, very successful comedian, actor, director, podcaster, producer, and now author. And you might have seen him in, but not limited to. Now, normally what we do is we rattle off all the credits here. But I think it's probably easier to rattle off the things you haven't been in. Because this guy's a worker. So you haven't been in Citizen Kane.
That we know of.
And you weren't in Roots.
Yes.
So pretty much he's been in everything else. You got Human Giant, you got 30 Rock, Reno 911, Bob's Burgers, Electric City, Modern Family, NTSFSD SUV, 39 episodes of that. You got Robot Chicken. Of course, you got The League, 84 episodes of that. Wet Hot American Summer, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Drunk History, Veep, American Dad, The Good Place, Curb Your Enthusiasm, The Goldbergs, Black Monday, 30 episodes of that, Big Mouth. Plus, you got a slew of personal appearances out there. You can hear him on his two amazing podcasts, How Did This Get Made and Unspooled, and he's got a brand new book out right now. It's a memoir, Joyful Recollections of Trauma. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the one, the only, Mr. Paul Scheer. Look at that.
I am so excited to be here. I hope it's okay. I did block in the driveway, when but I feel like that's okay, right?
That's fine. We know the tow truck driver. You're all right.
Tootie's going to be pissed.
Man, this guy's good. He comes in, yes, and baby.
Buddy, first of all, congratulations on an unbelievable career.
Oh, thank you so much. I hope it's not over.
I know. You just said that like this is the last thing he's doing.
Welcome to Paul's retirement party, everybody.
Oh, my gosh. I'm getting canceled right now. This happened.
Well, it was fun while it lasted,
Jesus,
Paul.
all right. Now we'll watch this video, and you'll see why I never to hire him again.
That was so dim, so dark.
I didn't mean it like that.
No, I know. I appreciate being here, and I'm excited. I'm excited to find out if I am garbage, because I think there are moments in my life where I feel like, I'm garbage.
That's everybody.
Yeah.
I've done a little digging.
Yeah,
right.
We did a little preliminary research.
All right, yeah.
But give us the backstory. Give us the origin story of Paul Scheer.
You know, so funny that you say that, because that was the first question that Lauren Michaels asked me when I auditioned for Saturday Night Live.
Really?
Oh, shit.
Literally. He said, what is your career trajectory? How did you get from how did you get from where you were to my office right here? And it's a tough question to answer.
Yeah, of course.
I took the 6th train.
I guess, I just live over on 50th and 8th.
It's easy.
It was really just, I didn't even have to take a train. I just walked across town. For me, I came up
A Long Island kid.
Long Island guy.
Huntington.
Right? Huntington, Northport. I worked in Syosset, Central Islip. I moved around a lot. My dad's from Queens. So I spent time at my dad's house. So Long Island, New York kid who loved comedy. And, that was so far removed from the world that I lived in.
Of course.
My dad's a pharmacist. My mom's a nurse. My mom's husband's a psychotherapist. So I don't know. I just love it. Yeah, but
learned doctors.
Very smart people who are very upset that I'm doing this.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Like my dad's like, you could have taken over my pharmacy. My mom, like, you could have worked in the hospital. Nope, I want to get up on a stage.
Even now they're like that?
It's interesting because it depends
cash now.
But it depends on what it is because I don't know what if they think what I do is successful. For example, when I was on Veep, my mom was so excited. She's like, I can't wait. I love Veep.
It's if they like it and know it,
right?
It checks a box for them.
For me, the biggest goal that I have in my life, which I have not yet achieved, is to be on.
Well, I hate to break it to you, it's over.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, it's done.
It's not what I have written here, Paul.
Is to be on Kelly Ripa because I feel like that would be the thing that all my family would see and it would validate. Like
100%.
It's like, yes, I was on Letterman. Yes, I've done other things. But if I was on Kelly Ripa, it would be like that.
You made it, Paul.
I've made
Paul finally made it.
I'm here in
Kelly Ripa. That's awesome.
But so so I love comedy. I was growing up in that world of just like taping SNLs.
Sure.
Taking my favorite sketches. Just wanted to
memorizing them.
Memorize it. Just whatever I could do. And there's no internet. There's no YouTube. There's no way to figure out how to get into this. But when I am in like middle school, I go into New York City with my dad, and we see this improv show called Chicago City Limits.
Sure.
And it was like a $15 ticket, and they improvised. And it blew me away because I didn't understand what improv was. I knew what stand-up was. But improv was like, oh, my God, they're creating a show on stage.
Well, the first time you see it, if it's done well, you're like, even now, if you see it done well, you're like, that is...
Right.
I even know the tricks of it, and I'm like, that is amazing.
Well, yeah, no, it's like, and it really is just like listening and acting, and it's impressive. And I was like, I want to do that. And I think that kind of put me on a trajectory. But even that, it was like, what do I do?
How do you get it? Yeah.
I'm a kid who's not even in high school trying to get on board here. So I convinced my dad. I'm like, Dad, I want to take classes at Chicago City Limits. And he's like, okay, well, we can figure it out because, when you hang out with me on the weekends, we'll go into the city. You could take this class. I take a class not realizing I am 14 years old, right? And I go into this class full of people who are in their mid-30s.
Sure. Guys that are bartending and stuff like that.
Yes. And the majority of them not even like wanting to be actors or comedians. They're
just
like,
want to do
something.
Yeah.
One guy was an FBI agent,
Freeze.
And so as I get into that class, I'm looking around. I'm like,
you're in there with an FBI agent.
I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, what do? I can't tell them I'm this young. So I lie. I just go, how old are you? And I'm like, I'm a freshman in NYU. That was my lie.
That's pretty good.
This guy's good at improv.
And I was like, and they're like, oh, great. And I'm like, yeah, and I commute. I commute in and out because, I'm trying to, but meanwhile, I have my dad who's like waiting outside to take me home.
My roommate.
That's my parole officer.
Thank God my dad was smart enough to be like, when I went to the first class, he's like, I'll let you out down the block so you can walk.
That's a good dad. Man. That's a dad who understands it.
Right, yeah. So he's like, it's a safe distance. And when I left class, he would wait about a block away and then we'd kind of meet up.
That's really good.
It was like, he was like my pimp. He would like, let me go do my work and then I'd come back and we'd see him. So, I was in this class and kind of living this, like this double life, and everything in that class kind of blew my mind because we're improvising these scenes and people are, driving a car. I'm like, well, I've never driven a car. Right? They're in a therapy office.
I didn't think you have zero life experience to pull from.
Right, yeah. Like, I mean, I have 14
when you're playing with your guys?
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I don't know anything. I'm like, yeah, look, my parents dropped me off at the movie there. I was great at playing the kid scenes. Sure. But, I don't have that much experience about like what it's like to go to therapy or have a job, which were a majority of these scenes. So, so that's kind of where it started. And then very cavalierly, I don't apply to any colleges. I just keep this lie going. I guess I'll go to NYU, partly because Theo Huxtable went to NYU from the Cosby Show. And,
of course.
And I was like, well, I guess I'll do that. And I went for education because that's what Theo went for. And I just thinking like, well, one day I'll be able to find another door here to kind of open up. And I started touring around with that company, Chicago City Limits, and I was doing that when I was going to school Monday through Thursday, but then touring Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
High school Monday?
This is college now.
So you did go to NYU.
4 years later, I go to NYU.
Right, shit.
But the only reason why I think is because I've created this lie that I was an NYU student.
Kind of manifested it.
Keep it going. I mean,
and I'm doing very well there.
Yeah, I'm doing. I mean,
the ladies love me.
I'm on an 8-year program. But and I was touring around the country in doing improv in the worst spots.
What were the
for
venues? Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it were community art centers. Sometimes you get lucky as a college, but a lot of the times, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs.
Really?
I performed on the Upper West Side. Sorry, Upper East Side. Not that makes a difference, but it does a little bit.
Sure.
The kitchen was our changing room, and we were performing in someone's living room.
I think I've done that.
We did it last week.
Yeah. And I was psyched because I was walking away with $125. If I got to do a road show, it was $125. If I did a show in New York City, it was $75. And that was hey, I'm making it.
That's good money.
Right. Here I am. And that kind of was, I was I didn't really think forward. I was well, that's it. I guess I've made it.
Sure.
What are you studying in college?
I basically.
I mean, you're at NYU. You're not studying drama, or
no? I'm dating this girl and she's in graphic design. I'm I'll be in graphic design. I'm a mess. I'm not doing anything good because I don't have any passion for it, right? And my parents aren't going to pay for me to go to acting school, right? They're not going to be oh yeah, go to NYU and pursue your dream of drama. They're go to NYU and get a degree. So
Had you had any graphic design experience?
No. The only reason why I went was because or I decided to transfer. Well, A, the girl, but B, the leader of the department sounded like Jeff Goldblum, and I was well,
there you go.
Fun. That's enough. That's enough for me.
This material writes itself.
So yeah.
Hold on. Let me see if I get my head around this. So you start doing the improv when you're in middle school.
Yeah, like high school.
And then you do it all 4 years. You're going on the Saturdays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then when you're around college age, you become on the team of this place. And then you're also going to NYU, but not studying drama. You're taking graphic design classes at NYU.
Yes. Huh. And then when I break up with that girl,
I join the FBI.
I mean, and then, but this is what I'm telling you. People go, what did you do? It's not a path I recommend anyone to follow. But then I break up with that girl, I drop out of graphic design and I go into education. I'm well, teaching is like being a
performer.
Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was in Catholic school, my one of the priests at my school said, Paul, become a priest. You perform to a packed house every Sunday, and I was
pretty good.
You don't got to worry about selling tickets.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they come already. So,
no late shows either.
Yeah, but early shows. Early shows are rough.
Early, yeah.
Sure. But so I'm just doing this. I don't know how to go forward in it. Because everyone in Chicago City Limits has a real job as well, right?
Yeah,
so they're not, they're not career professionals. And then I see the UCB, the Upright Citizens Brigade, which is Amy Poehler, Matt Walsh, Matt Besser, and Ian Roberts. And they did a show called ASCAT. That's improv as well, and it was a different kind of improv. The improv I was doing was very much whose line is it anyway? Every time a bell rings, we're going to change our last thing. Like Jeopardy, you'll be a proctologist. All these very basic games. But then I saw UCB, and it was a rock show.
Yeah.
It was,
just cool too.
It was cool.
Yeah.
They were drinking beer on stage and they're, and I know that sounds silly, but it was I'm in a shiny shirt and slacks performing Broadway song parodies Windows 95, what a way to make a living, or it's a mere piece of crap, do the mere space station, So I'm doing that, and then I see this thing that's very punk rock on the 5th floor of a walk up on 17th Street. I'm in this small little theater, and I was oh my God.
It's the coolest thing in the world.
And what's happening, and what I don't realize at that point is, it's the UCB4, it's the UCB, but they have all their friends performing. And now, looking back on it, those friends are Tina Fey, Adam
people,
McKay, Rachel Dratch, John Glazer, all these people that have all had these amazing careers. So I'm watching them just play and have fun.
So this was when there was no school yet. There was no place in the East Village. This was
nothing.
Just Amy Poehler and them. That was their band. That
literally
was
to find the theater. The first time I went, you walk down 17th Street, and it was I think it was called Solo Arts Group, and I was looking. I'm where is this theater? I'm looking for a theater, And I'm like up and down the block, and it feels like I'm like Harry Potter trying to find that like train station. I'm like, where is this? And some guy kind of walks out of the building, and he sees that we're lost. And you don't have Google Maps at this point. There's nothing there. He's like, "You looking for the theater?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Up there. It's in this building." So we go up. And I always remember this. It was a wooden staircase, wooden walk-up. I've been to many steel walk-ups. A wooden walk-up. We walk up 5 flights of stairs in a building that looks completely abandoned, and it opens up to a 5th-floor theater that sits 50 people, and that's where I first see
awesome.
UCB. And and then they started taking classes there, and then that's when this kind of amazing moment in New York City comedy kind of happens because UCB becomes something, right? And improv is not something. I mean, I wish somebody told me this early on, but it was not something that people were responding to until the UCB kind of came in, right? And so I got in on the ground floor with those guys and was doing 6 shows a week at their theater, their new theater, because they just needed people to fill the time. But I'm doing it with people like Rob Riggle and Rob Hubel, Aziz Ansari, all these people. Like we're all just performing multiple shows
day in, day out.
And it's like that's like my college education. I'm just like writing shows and performing shows and directing shows and working the lights. And it's an old strip club that a lot of the old patrons of the strip club don't realize has changed. So many times in the first year of doing shows, people come in and get up in the middle and walk out. They're like, I'll see a little bit of this cabaret, but when there's no tits, I'm out. It's like
that Scheer kid's pretty cute.
Yeah, we had a lot. Yeah, so that was like that was it, and so that was and then a lot of things started to happen from that. Like that became like this jumping off point of making these connections, having these friends.
Kind of the proving ground.
Right. And then it was all of a sudden we're getting cast in like Conan O'Brien bits, like late night bits. So you get like, hey, can you come on? And that was amazing.
That was the breeding ground.
It was, you like, they come, we'll pay you $500, you put on a dolphin costume and you walk across stage. And it was like, now I've made it.
I would
like,
take that gig now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good deal.
And you didn't know anybody, the first time you walked up there, up the wooden steps, you hadn't met anybody or anything like that. This was so that was your initial squad in comedy.
That was like,
was that crew that you just named.
Yeah, like it was just like I heard, like we had heard there's a good comedy show happening, the UCB. So I went up there to go check it out, saw it, and I was like blown away. Kept on going back every Sunday, and this is like when you could actually get a seat. And then at a certain point, you'd have to get there at like 3:00 for a 7:00 show. The line would be down the block. So I got there very early on and started taking those classes very early on. And some of those people that I took classes with, those first classes, I still hang out with to this day. I mean, we're all in that same kind of path. But it's kind of like we all got brought together by that. And it was a very collaborative thing, too. So you would call each other in. You'd be like, come let's go do this thing.
Sure.
Wow.
That's wild, man. Kid, we got to talk about Pretty Litter.
Oh, baby, the prettiest litter in the whole wide world.
Ooh, and I'll tell you who loves that Pretty Litter, my little kitty cat at home. Gang, a lot of times you get cat litter, the whole place stinks. It's like, how many cats live in here?
I know.
Then you find out there's none. You're like, what the hell?
Sure.
Gang, do yourself a favor, get over to Pretty Litter. It smells great. And if there's something going on with the urinary tract of your kitty cat, it will tell you because the crystals change color. And that's what the broad likes. She likes to know the cat's taken care of. Here's another little topper. You know you hate carrying those big bags of cat litter up the steps because they weigh so much?
Sure.
Pretty Litter don't weigh that much, man. It's light. You bring it up. It smells great. It lasts a long time. I'm telling you, I'm not just a spokesman. I'm also a client. Do yourself a favor. Get a little Pretty Litter.
Yep, ships free right to your door. Pretty Litter's amazing. You have to try it. Go to prettylitter.com/garbage to save 20% off your first order.
I didn't authorize that.
You get a free cat toy for you, for the missus, for anybody, for the bedroom, whatever you want to do with it, you can do. That's prettylitter.com/garbage to save 20% on your first order. Plus, you get the free cat toy. Prettylitter.com/garbage. Terms and conditions apply. See the site for details.
Sure.
Do it. Yeah.
Kev, let's talk about acorns.
Ooh, shout out to the acorns.
Now, gang, a lot of you are like me out there. You think investing can feel intimidating.
Ooh, scary.
You don't know how much you need to start. All right. Investing often gets put off because you got other things going on.
Sure.
It's very important that you start putting a little something away for later, and that's where Acorns comes in.
Yeah, Acorns makes it easy to start automatically saving and investing for you, your kids, and your retirement. You don't need a lot of money or expertise to invest with Acorns. In fact, you can get started with just your spare change. Acorns recommends an expert-built portfolio that fits you and your money goals, that automatically invests your money for you, and now Acorns is putting their money into your future. Open an Acorns later IRA and get up to a 3% match on new contributions. That's extra money for your retirement. I've been using it for about two years now. It's the only way I've been able to save money. I'm a horrible saver, horrible spender, and this is a way that it just takes it out of your hands and it just squirrels it away. It takes a little. You can set it up a little every day, every week, every month. You can round up your what if you spend $1.50, it'll round it up to $2. However you want to do it, however you're comfortable with. It's been genuinely the only way I've been able to save money. So head to acorns.com/garbage or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing for your future today. This is a paid client endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/garbage. Do it.
Let's go
Some
back
of the
a
best
little.
and worst comedy I've ever done. By the way, I did a show called Robot TV, TV for robots by robots, and we would basically just try to walk the audience. It was at midnights on Fridays.
Pretty good.
Yeah, so that was it.
Made by robots for robots.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Let's go back a little bit. Childhood.
Yeah.
Any brothers or sisters?
No, I'm an only child. I had a stepsister for a little bit. My mom was remarried to a guy.
Okay.
We had a stepsister. She was very cool, but didn't hang out with her that much. You know, she's much older.
What age did they get divorced, your parents?
When I was 3.
Sure.
But here's
Okay.
the crazy thing. My folks, my mom and dad, my real mom and dad, pretended to stay married or pretended for me that they were still married until I was 5.
Whoa.
So it was one of those things. I write about this a little bit in the book.
Now
but
we're
it was
talking.
Like, certain things stick in your head, but you don't know why, right? And as a kid, you don't know what's off, what's weird. And I remember like getting up one night and whatever, just as a kid getting up, I don't know what I was doing, but
Glass of water or something like that.
you know, and I see my dad in the guest room bed. And I'm like, what's going on there, right? But I just went back to bed. I didn't really think about it. And I remember asked my mom the next day, I was like, why was he sleeping in the guest room? And my mom's like, our bed is broken, which is a great metaphor for divorce.
Sure. My parents' bed also broke.
And I was like, okay. And, you know, I think as a kid, there are certain things that you're like, I don't want to question this because if I do, it will unravel the fabric of my reality, right? You know, right? So, but I knew it was weird because I'd always be like, guys, hug, kiss, hug, you know, trying to push them together.
Sure.
But, you know, so,
That'd
but yeah.
be funny if you were doing that. I two make out right now.
Yeah, like, let's go. Dirty stuff.
More tongue.
Hand on butt, please.
You don't mean that. Let's go.
And so that was a really interesting thing because for these 2 years, my dad it grew to the point where my dad would like leave when I went to bed, then get there before I got up.
Damn, they went that far?
Yeah, you know, because I think that they really wanted to create, and I think it's really admirable.
I agree.
100%.
But at the same time, and this is, I think, I'm a dad now. I have 2 kids. I have an 8-year-old, 10-year-old. You want to do everything right for your kids. Sometimes you're gonna mess up. You're not gonna realize that you mess up, right? You know, I showed my kids Goonies. I was like, they're gonna love Goonies.
Sure.
This is gonna be great. You know, and I'm laughing, I'm having a good time. And I look over at my son and you know, we get to that part with Sloth. I'm like, guys, it's funny, right? And they're like, why do you think this is funny? I'm like, he's ugly and his parents locked him in the basement. I'm like,
That's
guys,
hilarious.
I'm like, guys, come on. Hey, it's funny.
Classic bit here.
He's a baby Ruth. He's like, you're making fun of his speech impediment now? I'm like, no, it's not that. You don't get it. My kids are going to cancel me. But you know, so my parents, I think, thought they were doing a good thing. What I think happens is in a little bit of my mind, I'm always thinking, am I on the Truman Show? Because it's like, you know that something's off.
Something's a little off.
You know, and I think that did affect me in some way. I don't want to be here like, wah, you know.
No.
But, you know, but
That's a very unique thing. I've never heard that before in my life.
Yeah. So I think they were trying their best, but in hiding it, I do think it like built a little bit of a deep-seated thing. And now my parents got along very well. You know, my dad was very much a part of my life, but my mom gets remarried.
When do they tell you?
At 5.
They say what?
Well, we're moving.
Happy birthday.
We're moving.
We're moving. And it was sort of like, it wasn't like, I don't remember ever being told it was a divorce. It was like, we're leaving this house. And in a weird way, the divorce became the house. It was like, oh, well, we're leaving this, like, this place that we live, you know, and my dad's like, and I'm going to have my own place, and I'm going to have my own place. I grew up in a time, I'm not an old man, but I grew up in a time where no one in my classes were divorced. Sure. I was the only kid. Right, so it wasn't like, oh yeah, I go to my dad's.
So was Billy and whatever.
Right, yeah, I was the only one, you know, and that changed as I got older. But in that beginning time, So it was like, oh, my dad's going here, my mom's going here. And it just felt like, okay, like I just went along with it. As a kid, I'm dumb. I'm not going to ask too many questions, right?
Sure.
You know, I'm not going to get into the weeds with it. And so at 5, they kind of, they officially go to their own spots. But my dad is still so much there. You know, my dad's coming out 2 days a week. I'm going to his house on the weekends. He's there on Christmas morning.
Same neighborhood, same
how far
area?
was it?
My dad's in Queens. My parents, my mom is in like Central Islip. So about, like, you know, not terrible, you know.
Yeah, not bad.
Drivable distance. And so, yeah, that was my relationship. And what happened was my dad was my gateway to comedy. My dad was, we're going to tape Saturday Night Live. We're going to go see Chicago City Limits.
Driving into the city.
Yeah, we're going to
waiting around the corner for you, man.
Yeah, well, that's it. So like that became this thing. My dad was, it was in many respects, my dad gets the best part of the gig, which is like, gets to show me a fun movie. Yeah, you know, and we get to have all this fun. And he's incredibly responsible too. He's not like, it wasn't that he was always there, but it was like the weekends were, I had no homework to do, and we just got to be together. So that was a great thing, and we really bonded on those things. It gave me my love for, you know, everything from, you know, Mel Brooks and to Steve Martin and everything. Like we could bond on that, and that was a huge thing. I think helped like form that sense of comedy. I remember going to his house what he grew up in, and stealing his Smothers Brothers and Bill Cosby albums.
Sure.
And like, oh, I got these albums. I'm gonna listen to this stuff. So that was fun. You
That's
know,
awesome.
Yeah.
I like that. I like pretending to stay together, though.
That's a first for the show.
Yeah, that's a check mark into the garbage garbage area. I love it. Were you a good student?
Here's the thing. I am.
That's a no.
Yeah, like I think I was fine. Like throughout my life, look, I found out when I'm over 40 years old that I have ADHD. I never knew that, right?
Gotcha.
And that definitely affects my work,
Of
right?
course.
You know, I don't even know it. You know, like I feel like I'm a building that needs like major construction work, and I'm just putting up scaffolding around it.
You're like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, my entire life was just like kind of like holding myself together. And to make matters worse, I also needed glasses, but I wouldn't admit that I needed glasses either. So like I would be watching the teacher and the board, and my parents.
As a kid,
I would be like, because I would be like, I knew, I was like, the teacher writes so lightly on the board, I can't see it, right? You know, and my parents like, oh, that's weird. I'm like, not that I need glasses. So I didn't get glasses until I was almost out of high school. You know, and I have like this ADD, and terrible at math, terrible at science. But where I succeed is in like history and writing, and you know, I could read. I get like, you know,
quit bragging.
I
could read.
I could read.
I could read.
Dude, wait until after high school to get glasses, because I got them in 6th grade.
Oh yeah.
And I was nearsighted, so I couldn't see things far away. And I remember when I got them, I was like, all this time,
right?
This is what it looks like.
I mean, this is what I feel like getting ADD meds after 40 years. I'm like, what? I waited until I had kids. I'm like, my life got so much better. Like, like, oh, it's easier. But it was, but you know, it was interesting because I got by, and I got on the dean's list.
Wow.
But it was like, I was getting by like hook and by crook. You know, it's like, you know, and it's like I wasn't failing out, but there was times where I really did very badly. And I remember I formed this thing, and I was so proud of myself. When I was in 6th grade, I knew that there might be some nights where I wouldn't do my homework. So I would always hold my, like, when we'd have like a workbook, we'd have to do our work. Next day we'd go through it with the class, and teacher would like watch us. So I'd always hold my notebook like this, really close to my chest, and so no one could see, and hoping that the teacher would think that I didn't do my homework. And I would do that when I did it. When I did it.
It's a good scamming the system.
Right. So then she's like, Paul, show me your work. And I'm like, here it is. Like, oh, you did it. I did. Then when I didn't do it, I'd still hold it that close. So I kind of was like, you know,
that's diabolical.
Yeah, you know, I mean, look, as a kid, they got to figure out different ways to go.
Of course.
Now, some ways it didn't work.
You're giving away fake tells to the teacher.
You know,
that's nuts.
You got to kind of figure it out. I mean, I did learn my lesson when I was in an opera class. I took an opera class in college. I was like, that will be easy. It was impossible.
Sure.
I had to like learn music, and I cheated off people who looked smart to me. Little did I know, the person who looked very smart, not smart at all. Yeah, it was really dumb, and I failed really badly.
What were the vacations like as a kid?
Only one vacation.
Only one vacation.
Now we're talking.
Walt Disney World. That's it. Florida, Orlando.
Once.
No, every year.
Every year?
That was it. We go back every year. Occasionally, Busch Gardens, Virginia. Williamsburg, Virginia.
There you go.
But that was it. Like, I didn't know that you could take a vacation to anywhere that didn't have roller coasters. I was like, I didn't understand. Like, when my girlfriend in college, I mean, this went all the way to college. She was like, I was like, well, where's the amusement park? Like, we went to France, and I was like, we got to go to Walt Disney World, right? And she's like, what? I'm like, we got to go.
I got a French Mickey over here.
Yeah, your Mickey ears on.
Yeah, so like we went.
Would you fly or drive?
Fly. But it was like that. It was at a point where like I'm the only kid, right? So it's like I would go with my dad, so you can get like a flight down there for $80. It was like it was cheap. It was always in the paper. I remember like looking in the New York Post. And it was like fly to Orlando for $75. You know, it was a very cheap deal.
Would he always take you, or would your mom take you sometimes?
It was pretty much my dad. Occasionally,
man, he really did get the good.
Yeah, my mom and I went a couple of times. My mom and I, we did go to this place called Rocking Horse Ranch, which is upstate New York here. Rocking Horse Ranch, like a dude ranch for families, and I almost burnt it to the ground. I was playing with matches outside the Rocking Horse Ranch because I was bored out of my mind because I grew up. You want to talk about trash? I'll tell you this. My mom marries this guy, and we live in this house on a block, a dead-end block. And we have horses running around in our front yard, front and backyard.
Long Island?
Long Island, right? So this is a crazy thing. I'm like, now as I'm older, I'm like, first of all, how is this even legal? We had a makeshift barn.
Wait, they were yours?
They were ours. Now people be like, Paul, you had horses, you must be rich. No, I wasn't. I was told that we got these horses because they were about to be put down. Like we got them from they were racetrack horses. We got them, and my stepdad, he was a hunter. He did a lot of like hunting on horseback with like pointer dogs and stuff like that. So my childhood was spent like mucking corrals, cleaning out dog kennels, you know. But it was all in our residential
in
block.
Islip? That's insane.
Yeah, in central Islip. Here we are. Like no other house has a barn. Other house
the neighbors must have hated you guys.
Oh, I mean the smells that we produce on this thing, you know. And it's like, and they're running around. These horses are just like running around in our, you know, two. They're not a lot, but two are.
That's too many horses.
Yeah, too many horses, and 4 dogs that were not indoor dogs. They're just like hunting
had 4
dogs.
Outdoor dogs.
Yeah, and we also raise quail.
Wait, hold on a second. Wait. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Who was the stepdad?
The stepdad, my mom, my dad is
he had to come from some type of pedigree to be involved with hunting on horseback and quails and
but
foxhounds.
Again, you're thinking of the classy like British thing. I'm talking about the Wallbound's truck driver version of it, right? Who owned a side construction company as well, and you know, like we had giant like backhoes in our lawn.
I know the house.
You know, so it's like it's so funny. I showed somebody a picture of my house and like, oh, you grew up in a trailer park. I'm like, no, and then I looked at it and I was like, maybe
you were raising quail.
You know, it's like, so my mom kind of went the opposite direction. My dad, pharmacist, smart guy, lovely guy, refined,
educated.
Yeah, you know, like, you know, at least came, you know, his parents were farmers, but he went to pharmacy school, became a pharmacist. Great. My mom comes from a background, her dad worked in a bank. But here comes this guy, totally different than my dad, which I think a lot of people make when they try to find the next person. I'm going to go against the grain, and this guy is a dude who carries himself like he's constantly hungover. I never saw him drink; he wasn't a drinker, but he had that kind of like, I have a knife on my belt buckle. I'm wearing a cowboy hat. I'm wearing cowboy boots. He'd come home from work with a black eye and be like, "Oh, what happened?" He's like, "Oh, I fell off a crate." I'm like, "Well, did you fall right on your eye? Like, you got into a fight." Like, you know, like this is a guy who is just, he is a kind of a bruiser. My mom meets him because my mom's a nurse and she's taking care of his mom in hospital, and she's on her, like, so that's how they meet.
That's how they met.
You know, but this is a guy who is, you know, it was a whole different thing. You know, it was like, you know, we'd go out, he'd give me a gun and we'd start, you know, like we were like, I was shooting skeet in our backyard. Again, not on a farm, in a residential block.
Yeah.
You know, I have a shotgun out here. Like,
you're basically in Queens, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So this has become like this very different part of my life.
Yeah.
You know, and so.
Was he cool to you? Was he like nice?
Well, look, I mean, I won't beat around the bush.
What age are we talking here?
We're talking about like from about 6 to 12.
Okay.
Right. So that is a part of my book is talking about, like, this guy was also super physically abusive, right? So I was like, hey, you know, but like, thank you, but also I'm more than happy to talk about it. I feel like sometimes when I talk about it, I feel like people's buttholes clench a little bit, and I'm like, and I don't get, I'm not going to bring it down that journey, but it was like one of those things where you never knew what the fuck was going to go on.
Yeah.
You come home and you'd be like, what's happening.
What am
today,
I walking into? Yeah.
Right. And it's like we could be having fun 1 minute, and then the next minute, he could be like choking me out over a game of Monopoly.
Jesus.
Right. So it was.
What'd your old man say about this?
Well, this is the tricky thing.
You
it's
can't
like,
tell them, really.
Right. You talk about, but like I have a lot of empathy for my folks because I look back on them and I go, they were doing the best that they could with the knowledge that they had.
Sure.
Right. And there were times where like CPS was called on us, Child Protective Services, because they saw shit that was going on. Like the thing that should have been the red flag was when my mom got with this guy. He said, like, I was like, oh, I want to call you by your name. And he's like, no, you call me Dad.
That's like weird old, like 1950. Like it's like
Yeah.
I feel like Dennis Leary in a fucking Sandlot.
This boy's life.
Yeah, right. And so I was like, but no, but I wouldn't call him Dad, and so he would basically ignore me if I wouldn't call him Dad.
Jesus.
So I remember one time he locked me out of the house, no shoes on in the middle of winter in my pajamas. And wouldn't let me in until I called him Dad. And from that day forward, that was like, that's what I'm saying. Like it's these like big, small things like all over the map. It's like this. You're living under this influence of like what is gonna happen to you, and it was normalized too. Because I wouldn't go back. It took me a long time to even say that word, like abusive relationship. I feel so like, well, I don't know if I was abused, but I was like, oh yeah, I was. It's
sure.
But you're just as a kid, you're like, but it's normalized. Like everyone's. It's
kind of number one indicator if you're in an abusive relationship is, am I in an abusive relationship?
Right.
It's like, if you have to ask the question, you probably are. Yeah.
And that was, but we would have these moments where, CPS would come over and, and they would interview my mom and my stepdad together. Right. So that's like, interviewing a hostage and the hostage taker in the same room. Right. So, and they'd never question me. They'd leave. We had therapists. If you do this again, you're going to be in big trouble. They would never get, nothing really happened. So it's like, so there's a part of me where I'm like, yeah, did I tell my dad? I did. But did my dad know what to do? Did he even believe that it was as bad? You shut off these parts of your brain, and you go like, how do I react? It's like right now we could Google stuff. We could figure stuff out. There's places I could even do that. But then it was, we're left to our own devices. And I felt like what a lot of my family did was like kind of turn the other cheek. They would just go. Like I remember my grandma being like, if this happens again, I'll never come back here, which was great news for my stepdad because he was like, great.
Like, I just get to do it all the time now.
And I also don't like you. So great. Like, it's like I get rid of my mother-in-law and this great. Sure. So it's interesting. I think as a parent now, I never had anger at my parents because it feels crazy to say it, but I had a lot of love from them. Like they, and my mom was in it with me. My mom was also going through similar stuff. That's her story to tell, not mine, but it's like, but we were going through it. We're just trying to survive. And I think the mentality that we had was, well, once we got out, well, we're out. And let's close that door and never speak of it again.
Sure.
And that's another weird thing. It's just like, and you start to like, you don't want to tell people. It feels like you're trash. You feel like you're trash. You're like, oh, I'm divorced. I've been married 2 times. Divorced once, already. We're on thin ice twice.
It's like,
like at that point. And that's like, it's also like keeping appearances up in like that Long Island bullshit way.
Of course.
Like, But that, so that was like kind of this thing. So we had these horses, we had these dogs. It was not highfalutin.
No.
It
doesn't sound it.
Yeah, but it was just like, that was our life. That was what we did.
And so you said that you got out of that at 12?
Yeah, about 12. I probably
they broke up?
They broke up. My mom and I moved into a small apartment in Hauppauge, which is like out, a little bit further away. We moved into like a 2-bedroom apartment, and that was a whole nother thing. It's like, again, as a kid, you're moving around. You're going from, a house with a family to a different house, new guy, then an apartment. And look, I know a lot of people grew up in apartments, but there are a lot of different culture shocks going in.
We had horses 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, now we don't have a laundry room in our house. It's like you're just constantly changing
adapting to everything.
And that becomes like again, it's like, okay, we can do it. It's like I wasn't like mourning, but you lose your friends, you move to different places, like I was never around.
Oh, these are different school districts?
Yeah. So I'm popping around to different places. And, so I felt like I was an army brat, but I never left Long Island, like I'm just kind of like, and all of that, it was a lot of the book is called like Joyful Recollections of Trauma. And it's because it's like
great title.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
But it's not everything is all one thing, right? It's like
of course.
right, you have highs, you have lows. Like there's certain things that were super fun in my childhood that were great. It also just had to ebb and flow between these other weird moments.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think as you get older, you realize those extremes. As a kid, you make do. You don't know
it
any better.
You just roll with it. Yeah.
But I did know never to open up the door to strangers because my grandma, who's very Italian, would be like, "Don't open the door to strangers because there's a rogue butcher in town." And the rogue butcher kidnaps children.
Jesus.
And
Is that true?
Well, I was like, oh, and she's like,
Might as well be.
and she's like, and you know how they found him? And I was like, what? She's like, well, mom came home one time. She didn't see her son in the house, and she assumed he's out playing baseball or something. She starts to make the chopped meat because she went to the butcher before she came home, and she starts making a chopped meat burger, and the burger looks up at her and says, "Mommy."
Jesus
and I was like,
Grandma, I got enough going on.
I was like, oh my God. But by the way, that story, a lot of logic jumps, but I bought it hook, line, it's like so I mean, even if you take that at face value, you're like, that's traumatic. Like, I'm thinking there's a butcher out there that come and kidnap me. And
I got my stepdad, and I got to worry about this fucking butcher.
I was talking about this the other day. Like, I was a latchkey kid, right? And like, that's a crazy thing. As a kid right now, I have 8-year-old, 10-year-old.
Think about that.
I would never let my kids be
I was alone for most of my childhood.
100%. Like no one was around. So it's weird. You grow up in different ways. I loved it, by the way, too.
Of course.
Yeah.
Huh.
You said chopped meat.
Yeah.
Is that referring to ground beef?
Ground beef.
Is that what you would refer to? 'Cause
No,
that's a big question.
Chopped meat. Yeah, I would call it chopped meat. I would call it like
hamburger meat.
Hamburger meat. Yeah, ground beef. Like it's funny because it's like,
oh man, this guy's trash.
Yeah. Hamburger
I had
meat.
livestock on the island. Chopped
come
all
on.
right.
Look, I had to kill quail with my bare hands as a child. I know how to do it.
Did you really?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
We had a defeatherer and a thing in our garage.
What?
Yeah, you take the quail. Yeah,
I would have never pegged this for you.
Oh man.
I know, man.
Yeah, you put it. You hold them by its feet, and you put them in this machine that looks like all these like plastic it look like I don't even have just like plastic bars, right? And you put it in, it's like brrrr, and it just rip all the feathers off these quail. That was one of my chores.
Jesus Christ, man! Try it.
And then would you eat them? The family would eat them?
I don't know what we did with them. I think we sold them. I don't remember eating quail that much, but I mean, I probably did.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the more recent questions we've been doing. Who is the most famous person you met before you started doing comedy? Could have been like a weather guy or whatever.
Oh, that's a good question. I was obsessed with meeting celebrities. I want that was again.
I saw that.
I wanted to be. And I had a book called How to Meet Celebrities when I was a kid, right? So it was basically this.
I mean, this guy.
Is
anybody built for the show?
The book was. It's a crazy book because it was like this.
How to Meet Burt Reynolds.
Truly, it was like that. So they would give you this idea, like you can't meet a celebrity and say, "Hey, I'm a big fan." That you're just gonna get an autograph or get a picture and you're gonna go.
I just did that to you outside.
I
said, hey, big fan.
You'd have to go up to him.
I ruined it.
Can I get an autograph?
You go like this. You go like, oh, Burt Reynolds. What is Burt Reynolds into? Like, oh, Burt Reynolds is into trucks. So you would do some research on trucks, and you go like, hey, Burt, you see that new GMC they just came out with? And he's like, oh, and you're like,
an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Hey, Burt.
Yeah.
Want quail? How do you feel about quail?
Get in on this. So
Burt, you like broads, right?
So that was I was always trying to figure out how to do it, but there was a person, and this is hope this is a great answer, who went to our church, my grandparents' church. Susan Lucci from All My Children.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was
that's pretty good.
So,
are you kidding me?
Yeah. So my grandma was like, go get her autograph. I'm like, but I'm online for communion. She's like, go get her get her autograph. And my grandma.
Your grandma played it fast and loose.
Oh
didn't
yeah.
she?
My grandma was like, no. My grandfather was like, don't, you can't go up and get her. She's on the way to communion.
How old are you at the time?
I think at that point I'm probably. I mean, this is like peak All My Children. I imagine I'm in like the 10s or the 11.
She's at her Susan.
This is like the Lucciest of all Lucci. Like this is not even like I haven't won Emmy. Like it's like it is
the height of it.
The height of it.
I always loved her.
I mean, she was the best, and people forget like soap operas played such a big part of our lives. Luke
and
and Laura.
You said that it was so perfect. These people forget these bros on the soap opera.
I mean, you remember like General Hospital was like a thing. You came home, or at least I did. I came home, it was on. It was that was a thing.
We're the same age. You're 48. I'm 48.
Yeah.
And the General Hospital, Luke and Laura.
Frisco
and the Jack Wagner.
Yeah, all that stuff. stuff.
That was on every time I walked in the door.
And when you were homesick, that was what you get. That's what you watched.
Sure.
Little Days of Our Lives when you're home by yourself, Paul.
Yeah, of course.
Little Ryan's Hope, maybe. That was all right. Man, Susan Lucci.
That's pretty good. That's a good one.
And she was just living out on Long Island.
She lived in Garden City. That's where my grandparents lived in Garden City. So, I mean, it makes sense, right? A perfect, like a nice, easy commute.
They were filming it here, probably, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. She's probably filming it right on, like 50th and the West Side Highway over there.
Right
by,
on Tootsie or something.
Yeah, and she was, like, just popping in. But it's, like, good life, works a couple days a week.
Susan Lucci.
Lucci.
Man, you are racking up.
Have you ever called and requested a song on the radio?
I called many radio stations. That was again. I mean, my dream call was to call WPIX, which is WPIX is like the station that played like movies and reruns and stuff like that. And they had a thing called Pix, and it was basically a guy in a station like somewhere in New Jersey playing like asteroids. And every time you said the word Pix, which is WPIX, he'd hit a button like and fire his Space Invaders needle. So you'd be like, Pix, Pix. And they're like firing if you'd like win like a $10 gift card to like Roy Rogers.
Not bad. Shout out to Roy's.
But yeah, so I think I would always try to get on that. But Z100 was my go-to. I think I wanted to call, but never got through.
Gotcha.
Okay. Wow. Frozen pizza growing up, what was your favorite?
That was not a thing.
Never?
We're Italian. There were pizza places nearby. Like I feel like that was
Long Island pizza. Yeah.
Yeah, we made pizza, or we got it delivered, or we picked it up. Like we would go like order from the pizza place. It was like we didn't go out for pizza, but that was it. Like frozen pizza to me.
No Stouffer's French bread, nothing.
I mean, I guess like if like when I was in high school. Like because I was a latchkey kid a bunch, I would get stuff so I could make my own dinner.
When you got
right, and that was like that was good. But I would make my own. I made this thing called like affogatos, which was like this it's like affogatos. It was like this just a doughy, like a doughy. It was almost like a thicker Sicilian pizza that I would make. And
you would make it.
I would make it because it's like it was easy enough to make. You get the dough, put some olive oil in there. You put in some tomatoes. You put some onion in there. You put it in the oven, and you have it for the whole week.
You're making pizza after school?
Oh, I'm making food. I mean, I'm making pork chops. I'm making
You're doing pork chops?
I'm doing pork chops
as a kid.
Maybe like this is like a high school age.
Still a kid.
Yeah.
Dude, who are you?
Because it's like, but I'm like an only child. I'm there. I'm like, and it was. I think that was like part of it. It's like, oh well, I want to make sure that you have like my dad and my grandma taught me how to make stuff, right? Because it's like I'm not ordering. There's no DoorDash. There's no, it's like my mom's coming home a little bit later.
For yourself.
Yeah, a little bit.
Scheer kids making Stromboli.
I have nice calzones.
Would you guys keep your butter on the counter or in the fridge?
Fridge. The counter is a new thing that I've learned, and I appreciate the butter on the counter.
Soft butter.
Soft.
Yeah. Snacks as a kid. Were you allowed to eat in your room?
Well, that's a good question. I feel like we were a family that I was always like I was lucky when I could get the cereal variety pack. They had the mini pack of cereal.
The small boxes?
Small boxes. And they had one that was corn pops. And you're like, that's going to be the one I hold. That's my treat.
Corn pops.
And you have like the Frosted Flakes in there, but the corn pops was like, because it was all healthy-ish except for corn pops. And then they have the one that's all like fun ones, but like it wasn't like we weren't like a big snack family. We definitely this is going to answer your question right away.
I think you already have. But yeah.
Doritos dipped into sour cream. That was so we would often like get together in my mom's room. Me, my mom, and my stepdad, and we'd have a bowl of sour cream and a bunch of
in the bedroom.
Stepdad dipping Doritos into sour cream, and that was my. And then a lot of me shooting whipped cream into my mouth from a whipped cream can. Those are like my snacks.
The three of you sitting in bed watching TV, dipping Doritos in.
You're a larger gentleman. Has that ever come across your radar?
Yeah, I've dipped in sour cream.
Okay, I never thought about it, but it makes sense.
By the way, it's a good taste. I tried it. I tried it recently because I was like, I had some sour. It's very rare that I have sour cream like just out in the house, and I was like, let me see if this still holds up.
Let's take it for a test drive.
Yeah. I would dip it in ranch too. And this is a weird thing, but my intro into Cool Ranch Doritos was because of Jay Leno. He did the commercials back then.
Yeah.
What's to do with
the way he would talk, he just sold them to me so strongly. And in one of the commercials, he dips the chip in like Cool Ranch or something. And then ever since that, I'm a big dipping into sour cream or Cool Ranch.
It's a look. We
regular ranch dressing.
Look, what are Doritos? Doritos are kind of pretend nacho chips. Yeah,
of course.
And we dip.
Not pretend, Paul.
I know. Yeah. I got it. But like we're dipping those.
So you're not wrong. It makes sense. I never put it together, but it makes total sense.
All right, let's talk about now a little bit.
Yeah.
Doing well.
Sure.
When things started...
Who you been talking to?
It's just your retirement.
Yeah.
When you started doing well, was there the first big check, which I don't know what that was, but when you got the first big check, did you do anything reckless with it?
Was there purchase.
A jet ski, a car?
My first big check.
And what was it?
He's Long Island trash. I had no idea.
Yeah. No, my
Bought
first
more quail.
My first big check was spent on a pull-out couch. That was it. Like I was like, I'm gonna get like I'm gonna get a couch that I could sleep on because I had a studio apartment, and I was in New York City, and I was
That's pretty genius.
You know, I was like, look, then that way it can be like I don't have to worry about the bed of it all. I remember I spent $1,000.
Whoa. What year are we talking?
Probably 2004 or something like that. So it's like, and that couch stayed with me for a very long time. But like that was like I remember like I was like, oh boy, this is a big one. I'm buying a pull-out couch, you know, and
$1,000 for the worst night's sleep.
Yeah, like Jennifer Convertible's pull-out, you know, like the brown pull-out couch. But it was that to me was the most money I've ever spent.
And what was that check from? What job?
What was it from?
Human Giant sketch show I did with Rob Hubel, Aziz Ansari, directed by Jason Wolner. It was great, and it was like oh, I'm making money. I'm living in New York City, and
you're doing it.
I was doing it, and I'm gonna buy myself a pull-out couch.
I've worked hard enough.
Yeah,
dude, that's crazy.
You know, so that
you have many firsts on this show so far.
And have you always been pretty smart with your money? Were you reckless with it as you were cooking?
I think I was always really smart. You
got some major. I mean, you got major network TV cash.
But here's the thing. Right, like
Let me break it down.
Like I remember when I first did the show. I think the thing that I first got recognized for, Best Week Ever, right? Which was like
that was my introduction to you.
Yeah. Right. So in Best Week Ever, what was kind of fun about people were like, "Hey, I love you and I love the '80s." Like, I never did it. I did Best Week Ever.
I'm not one of those hacks.
Put some respect on it. Well, the fun thing about Best Week Ever was it really was before Twitter or anything like that. It was like pop culture cliff notes for the week.
Yeah, short form comedy. Yeah.
Yeah, and every week you're just talking about. I remember the first episode was J-Lo and Ben breaking up.
Whoa.
That was, and I remember
talk about a Super Bowl.
Right?
Man.
And it was sort of like, I remember like we were about to premiere and they broke up that Friday morning and we were going to go live not live, but we were going to go on the air for the first time at 11 o'clock at night. And we got called in to shoot so we could actually be on time. And that was like, and I know it sounds silly, but it's like, but that's what was kind of fun about the show. It's like, oh, someone gets voted out in Survivor. We're talking about it. We're right there. And it played Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So everyone's hungover is watching it. All the kids who are at home who can't go out are watching it. And it was just kind of a great way to be funny in pop culture. And that was something that I felt like I was in real time. So I was doing that show and I feel like everyone saw it. Like it was huge. It was huge.
It was on all the time. Yeah.
And like that was the thing because it aired, because on VH1, it would air all the time over the weekend. So it wasn't about like what did people tune in for. It was like you could watch it anytime, but you would catch it once over the weekend. And it was on every week. So, so I remember people like, well, you must be making us some big bucks.
They notoriously pay.
I got
horrible
$500 per episode. $500, right? And that was great money.
Great at the time.
It was like I was thrilled. I was making it. But and I think that like, to a certain extent, you go there and then you go like, oh, okay, well now I'm going to get this MTV show that I'm like writing, I'm working like every day for a month. It's like we're getting paid. Now, they talk about it like this. It's not nothing. It's $5,000 an episode, right? So like $5,000, which is, you're doing like 8-10 episodes. That's most money I made. But again,
it's a lot of pull-out couches.
It's a lot of pull-out couches. And that was like big. But that's like not, like I remember like
that's from a struggling comic to that. You're like, this is amazing, but it's what a secretary makes,
right? It's like because you look at it like, what people don't also realize too is like when you get these other opportunities, and again, this is when I'm first starting out. You are a manager takes a fee, an agent takes a fee, right? And then you got taxes on it, right? So you are getting
and they take theirs pre-tax, by the way.
Yeah,
exactly. They get in first.
So if you're talking about like, you're taking like 50%, like if you could pretty much go like 50%.
Half of the check is yours.
Right. So I'm making $2,500, which I'm taking it. I'm thrilled, right? But it's like, and that was just sort of like, but people would walk up and be like, oh, you must be rich. It's like, no, the people on Will and Grace, like at that point, I remember Will and Grace, they were like giving them like, oh, you got picked up for a second season. We're giving you all Porsches, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, there's none of that. I remember my manager took me and the three guys out for dinner. We went to a place called Lupa here in New York City. I remember it so clearly. And we bought a nice meal. And he goes, all right, so we're good, right? We did it. Like, I was like, oh, yeah, I guess that was like our start gift is like a nice meal. But at that point, it was the best. So, it's, look, money is great and it is, but it's also like, there's different levels. And I think when I got into this game, you're working on this thing where it's like, yeah, I'm working, not for the paycheck always. It's like there are those opportunities, but I work with good people, and
this is going to be a fun project. It's with people I like, and it will create something.
And it's
really
like
cool,
I'm not like it's like there's a lot of talk about the big money deals, but it's like no, it's good and it's consistent and it's been amazing. But it was a long time of struggling and putting those checks together and trying to figure out like what's going on. But yeah, so to answer your question, was I good with money? Here's what I do. My ADHD brain. I had a Mead composition notebook, and I would. It's
pretty good.
Yeah, right.
It's real mom.
Yeah. And I would every month I would write down every bill that came in, and I'd have like my own plan. I'm like, okay, I got this check over here. That's gonna take care of that. That's gonna take care of this. And it was just like, and I was very good about just
staying on top of it.
And I think the biggest expense they ever had up until a certain point was getting an engagement ring for my wife, and that was difficult too. It's like, oh boy, this is I'm taking I saved some money and I got an engagement ring, So it was like I remember those are like those moments where like your heart kind of drops. So I was never reckless with it, I was still making ends meet, and that's not to say that I was broke. I was able to live. I lived by myself. It was all good, but it wasn't like...
This is also an industry where it's like, I could have 2 bad years and I'm back to zero, kind of.
I think part of the joke of some of this stuff is, and again, like I'm not like, wow, poor me, but it's like, you do a show, and it's like, you do 24 episodes of a network TV show, and then you're going to come back in that August, and you can come back and shoot more. I'm doing 10 to 12 episodes, and it may be a year before you come back for the second season. So you got to figure out, you got to
make it last.
You got to make it last. Yeah, I'm not taking any of that money for granted.
Sure.
Gotcha. All right, that's pretty good, man. See, that's very classy.
Yeah,
that is classy.
Yeah, as opposed to the quails and the horses.
Yeah,
and all that stuff. If we came over to the house now, where are you at? Are you here?
No, I'm in Los Angeles.
You're in LA.
Yeah.
So if we came over to the house right now, and you offered us a glass of water, what are we looking at here? We're looking at a bottle.
Well, if you're gonna come over to my house, and my wife is very classy, and we live in a very classy house, but I'm gonna tell you this. You're gonna come over to my house. I'm gonna be like this.
He gets real Italian.
Comes out of nowhere.
I'm gonna say you want some water. You'll say yes. I'm gonna go down into the basement where I have a water cooler, like a little jug that I'm gonna give you from the bubbler. I don't call it a bubbler, but I know people call it a bubbler. And give
like
you
what would be in like a doctor's office type thing.
And I'm gonna give you that because I know it's gonna be nice and cold for you.
Really?
I respect that.
Is that glass or is it plastic? The bubbler.
It is. I can go either way. Depending on what I order, but I go plastic because I don't need glass bottles. Then I got an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Sure.
I need more shit to be broken in my house.
That's pretty good. And is it the house that you're in now? Did you guys build it? Did you move into it? Any renovations?
We moved into it. We did a lot of work to it. We were, and I gotta be honest with it, we were in Architectural Digest, my wife and I.
Let's go.
What?
Yeah, so that was
Paul
but
Scheer.
And talk about classy. That was something like I never realized so many people read Architectural Digest. Like I thought it was really cool,
Really?
But man, oh man, people came out of the woodwork. I was like, oh shit, yeah.
You got a pool out there?
I got a pool. We put a pool in the day the writers went on strike. Literally the day the writers' strike hit, we broke ground. And so So that was
Get
was
the
a
hell
little.
out of my house.
We don't need stairs.
Yeah, so that was like one of those moments where like, oh, all right, here we go.
Got the meat notebook
Yeah,
out.
like, all right, here we go back to this.
Is that a saltwater pool?
No, it's not saltwater pool. It's a regular. I had one of those saltwater pools in the first house we had. And that's a fucking mess. I mean, like for them to tell you, like, oh, by the way, we'll eventually eat away at the concrete. I'm like, I don't need this shit. But give me
the chemicals. Yeah.
Hot tub?
Yeah, hot tub in there.
Nice. So what are you whipping around town and what are you driving?
Oh, I mean, a minivan, man. I'm a Chrysler Pacifica
It's a great car.
the way.
Look at you.
Pacifica
All
is
right.
fantastic.
We take them on the road every once in a while.
That's what we get. They're big.
They're the best.
They drive like an Escalade.
It's-
There's plenty of space. You got all the plugs.
You got the doors that flip, go back and forth. My kids have their own TV screens. They can watch stuff. They put on a headphone. They're watching Sonic back there. Life is good. And they can also fit a shitload of luggage because we don't travel light. Even though we'd like to pretend that we do, but we don't.
Man, this guy's trash.
And we got a dog. We got to get a dog in there too.
Of course.
What's the missus zipping around then? What does she have?
BMW.
Sure. You got one to keep up appearances. You're in LA. You got to play the game a little bit.
She's got a very nice dog.
Come on.
Okay.
Look at him.
Have you ever owned your own bowling ball or pool cue?
Yeah. I have owned my own bowling ball.
Really?
Yeah, I've owned my own bowling ball. When I was doing Chicago City Limits, I was doing the Broadway Bowling League, right? And
Okay, that's fun though.
And I got a big thumb, right? So I would
You
find
might have heard that about me.
this is for those of you watching it on YouTube, big thumb. And so whenever I go bowling, I could never cram my thumb into that hole, and it would, I thought it was affecting my bowling. So I remember I got on a train from Manhattan. I went out to Queens to like a Dick's Sporting Goods. And I got fitted for a bowling ball,
my God,
and
dude.
I got my own bowling ball. I don't have a pool cue, but I did have that. I did have a bowling ball, and I kept it around, and for a long period of time. A lot of the time it collected dust in my closet, but it was there.
Okay.
Oh, man. Dinner is usually at the table when you and the missus are home.
Yeah, I mean, my wife and I, we make a big deal of family time, right? Like it's like if we are not working, we are gonna have dinner with our kids. Like that is it's a big thing, and I love that. No TV on except occasionally on Monday Night Football or
Got money on the game.
you got to keep going. I got to keep my fantasy leagues happening. But here's the crazy thing. My wife is the one into football.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I am too, but like
because
she, like, if I wanted the TV on during dinner,
of course, of course,
but
can't watch Rambo or
right,
something.
yeah. But we're also big basketball fans, so if there's a big game, there are but it's sports are on during it's not like
because that's live. You gotta catch that.
I mean, I grew up eating in the living room around the TV. We're watching Martin. We're not. It was no special event. It was just a Thursday.
We're watching Martin.
So we do that around that. Table. We also have an island that we eat around. We go back and forth.
Very
we have
nice.
We tried to build a big kitchen when we moved into this house because we realized that's
the space.
That's where we are going to be. I went to a person's house one time. I would argue it might be the richest person I know. That I know from that I could say as a friend and I could text.
Sure.
Truly one of the richest. And I went to their house and I was like, oh, this doesn't feel like a rich person's house. This feels like a person who has a very comfortable house. Mm-hmm. And that always stuck out to me because her kitchen she had like a little mini living room built into the kitchen. Like there was a couch, it's
a good hang.
It's a good hang. So it's like I could be cooking, and I always look at that. And it's a giant floor plan, but we wanted to create something where it's like when people are hanging in our house, 90% of the time we're hanging in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. It's the epicenter of where we go. So I love that. I love that idea of that. I grew up in a house where we had a living room that we didn't go into. It was like or the fancy living room.
Of course,
of course. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't have that much more, I don't think.
I mean, he's trash.
100%, dude. 100%.
But I want to kind of hear more about the lifestyle now. He's
The lifestyle's the rich and famous.
Catch an invite to dinner. Check this joint out. That's pretty good.
What was your first concert?
Billy Joel.
Whoa, where?
Hartford.
No shit.
Billy Joel, Hartford Civic Center, the Stormfront tour. That's the We Didn't Start the Fire tour.
Yeah,
that's my first
a great
one. What's the second concert? Billy Joel. What's the third concert? Billy Joel.
No shit.
Yeah, my first 4 concerts were Billy Joel.
Straight
He's
in a
great
row.
live, though.
Yeah, great live.
I just saw him at the Garden last year. It was fantastic.
I'm going to go see him at the Intuit Dome in October, hopefully, if I can figure out how he's going to get me tickets for that.
Are you peeing in the shower?
All right, so here's the thing.
Who's
that I never... That was not something that was ever really introduced to me as an option, right? And it makes.
I think you figure it out on your own. I don't think it's
well,
like.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
It feels like this is clean. This is a place where I'm being clean.
You're not wrong.
So, and not until I was older did this idea get introduced to me. So I met this guy, another eccentric rich gentleman, and he's showing us his house. And he goes, "You see my bathroom." And he has a urinal built into the shower.
Oh, whoa!
In the shower. And I go, "What's that?" And he goes, I think it's gross to pee in the shower, so I put that over there. So
That's the classiest thing I've ever.
Yeah.
That classiest, trashiest thing I've
Do
ever.
we know
heard.
this guy?
You would know his work.
It sounds like a real Sly Stallone kind of movie.
Yeah.
Hey,
he's
Paul.
not a famous on-camera person, but he is responsible for some of the best comedy.
Michael Bay.
Yeah. But yeah, so and then I was like, oh, that's an option that is available to me. I just didn't look. I didn't know that. I mean, I guess you're right. You can figure it out on your own. I did not.
Okay.
Are you peeing in the shower?
Oh yeah, now I like to pee in the shower. Yeah.
The hell I've been missing out.
Yeah. I mean, of course. Why would I? Yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah. You brushing your teeth in the shower? No.
That's just bringing in too much shit to the shower. Like if I lived in a dorm room and I had to share, like maybe I gotta bust out a couple things. I brush my teeth outside the shower.
I agree.
You like a deviled egg?
Oh, of course. A good deviled egg.
Gentlemen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever taken a picture of a Cybertruck?
For comedy, really, yeah.
Okay.
No, but no, not in that. My kids love Tesla. They love Tesla. They love the Cybertruck. My wife and I just did a bit. So we were hosting the Humanitas Awards, which is right before the Emmys.
This guy's hosting award show.
He's Hollywood. This guy.
And we did this bit. Totally my wife's joke, but she was like, sorry, real quick. It's not televised, but it's in this nice room, and a lot of very famous people are there because it's a classy award show. She's just real quick. I'm so sorry, everybody. There is some in the parking lot. Somebody with a Cybertruck. They left their lights on. Just raise your hand if you have that. And then no one raised their hand. She's like, "Good, you passed the test."
That's really fun. That's a good bit. That's really good.
That's pretty good.
How many suits do you own? And do you know how to
Gotta
tie a tie?
Well, I went to Catholic school, so
Right.
yes, I know how to tie a tie. Suits. I got a lot of suits. I do have a lot of suits.
Give me a number. 12?
Walk-in closet?
20?
Well, my wife has the walk-in closet. I have a sliver of the walk-in closet. And my wife likes to close the door when she's getting ready in the walk-in closet. So I'm often I have my underwear and socks outside of that. So I'm waiting to get in. And we're always running late. So I would say I probably have about 8 suits, 3 tuxes.
Whoa. That's pretty. 3 tuxes. That's
yeah.
In the walk-in closet where your wife gets ready, is there a little seating area where it
No.
No?
Although that would be nice to do. I mean, I appreciate that. Anything that
That's a classy answer. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we do have 2 sinks in our bathroom.
Woo!
That's a nice thing. But I do think that women, I think that my wife talks about this a lot too. I think that women should have their own bathroom and they should have their own little area to get. They got so much to do, and it's like they don't need me stinking it up. They don't need me getting in there, turning on the shower too hot, whatever it is. So I like to give my wife as much space. We have multiple bathrooms in our house, not many, but we have 3, and
one's downstairs.
One's downstairs. That's the one that I often will get ready.
You'll post up.
I go there
downstairs.
Downstairs. I go all the way down.
Wait, it's in the basement.
Yeah.
Does it have a shower and stuff?
It does.
Do you have clothes and stuff down there?
I keep. I bring my clothes down, but I also keep a razor, some toothpaste, deodorant down there. I can do
What?
I can do a 3/4 ready down
that.
there.
I'm with that.
And then,
What are you talking about? He's pulling shoes, getting ready down in the goddamn basement. That's crazy.
But because then it's also you know what? I'm down there. No one's rushing me. I do my thing. I'm not annoying my wife.
He's got his alone time.
Sure.
He's
Yeah,
clearing his
it's
head a little. He's got to go
know,
host a goddamn award show.
so
he needs some time to prep.
I gotta, the thing I want to do is I don't want to piss off my wife before we walk out the door to go anywhere.
Sure.
And me being around in general at that point is
Smart.
not good. It's not going to be good. She's trying on things. She doesn't like things. She doesn't like her
You're
makeup.
going,
She doesn't.
Let's just go. It doesn't matter.
Right. So
whatever.
the more I can be away and the more I can never say like, let's go, the better. So if I'm out of sight, out of mind. I'm like, I try to get out of there for that sort of stuff.
Man, that really just struck a chord with me.
Yeah.
Because I'm the other way, and I always aggravate the shit out of my girl. And I'm like doing the I'm waiting for you thing.
No.
Man.
Just shut the fuck up and sit and get out your iPhone, play a game. What I do is, I get ready. I'm ready to go. I know putting on a suit's the easiest thing, too. It's like, boom, boom, boom. Got it. So I'm like, I'll play NBA 2K with my kids until...
so you got to throw the suit on and then run out
100%. And then my wife says, Uber's going to be here in 10 minutes. I'm like, great. Boom, boom, down.
Man, I mean, no one cares
no one cares what I look like. I mean, look, I would love to be one of those people that dresses really flamboyantly on the red carpet, but I can't because I played this character Andre on the league for so long. So I'm a bald man. I got to wear baseball caps. I won't wear any other hat besides a baseball cap because
I've seen you in a suit. You look great in a suit.
Oh, thank you so much.
You got the good frame for a suit.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm 42 regular, out of the box, easy to go.
I'm not getting you one.
No, I'm just telling you. But
if you have any sponsors out there,
but I do think that there's something about a guy in a simple suit.
Can't go. Yeah, you can't miss.
Can't go wrong.
Can't miss.
Just keep it
a clean
simple.
black, blue, gray. Just something clean.
Do it nice.
Looks good.
You look at somebody like John Hamm. He always looks good. He's not wearing a crazy fucking thing. It's like just go
down the middle.
Just go down the middle. Get a nice one.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I'll say. My advice. I don't know if we're giving advice. It's not an advice show, but I do believe in get your shit tailored. If it doesn't fit, my thing fits perfectly that's the one blessing that I have is that I can fit into a suit very easily. But if it doesn't fit or feels a little bit weird, get that shit
because you
tailored.
you'll feel more comfortable,
and it will look good on you too.
Yeah.
Because it needs to fall on you the right way. Good suits are made for it can be made around the body. I think that's a thing. I
agree.
I have a friend who's very short. He got his suits made. He looks fucking great all the time. But if you
just tighten it up, wherever it is. Yeah.
Man, coming through with the knowledge.
This guy's good. He's trash, but he's good.
Yeah.
100% trash. But
my trash knowledge helps me with my classy knowledge.
There you go. You can walk in both worlds a little
exactly.
bit. Yeah.
Very put together. Gang, the book is The Joyful Recollections of Trauma by Mr. Paul Scheer. 100% garbage.
Yes.
Thank you.
But real sharp.
God, I love
it. Hanging out right now, man. Real good. Anything else you want the folks out there to know? Anything coming up?
No, I mean, that's great. You know, we're going to be, I tour around with my podcast, and I also tour around with this improv group that has like great people in it, like Rob Riggle and Nicole Byer, and you can just check it out on my website.
Just some of the best people doing it.
Some of the best people ever doing it.
We have a lot of fun.
Gibby, what do you got for him?
Guys, we have AYG and Friends live at the Gramercy Theater on October 1st, and then there's a few tickets left for Parks Casino in Philadelphia. Get those tickets. We love yous.
Yeah, Paul, thank you so much.
Yeah,
this was a home run.
Appreciate you.
Gang, we love you. We'll see you next week.
Peace.